Hello and welcome to this edition of Blueprint for the Future with the MidRegion Council of Governments. I'm your host, Tony DellaFlora. Transportation is always a hot topic in the metro area, whether it revolves around bridges over the Rio Grande, roundabouts, or renovations at Paseo del Norte and I-25. The MidRegion Council of Governments is one of the organizations that participates in transportation planning for an area that includes Bernalillo, Valencia, Torrance, and Sandoval counties. With me today is Augusta Meyers, Communications Manager for the Council, to discuss Keep New Mexico Moving, a new travel survey designed to aid the transportation planning process. Nice to have you here, Augusta.
Thanks, Tony. I'm glad to be here.
Well, tell me about this. It's officially called the MidRegion Household Travel Survey, and why that's important.
Well, it's important for a number of reasons, and I think the biggest reason is that the benefit from this survey is that to understand what kinds of investments we need to make in transit and transportation in the future, we really need to look at how people travel today. We need to understand, you know, if we make an investment in transit, will they use it? If we add more bicycle lanes, will they use it? So we want to make sure that we gather a good sampling of behaviors around travel and transportation in the metro area so that, you know, when we project growth, because that's what the council does, we get a lot of the data that projects growth, it gives us an idea of the kind of traffic that's going to occur as a result of that growth. Okay.
So would it be fair to say on a very practical level, by participating in this, you'll get a say, first of all, in how public funds are eventually spent on these projects, and maybe avoid a traffic jam or two. Help with that.
Absolutely, yeah. And by weighing in today, you're probably going to sit in fewer traffic jams in the future. That's absolutely right. And I think that this is an opportunity. You know, the last time we did a survey like this, where we really reached out to people to find out how they travel through the region, it was by use of phone. We did it by phone. That was 20 years ago. Everybody had landlines back then. Nobody does anymore. So we have to reach people in more creative ways and on their terms. But it definitely gives them an opportunity to say, okay, this is what I would like to see.
Okay. Now, I wanted to make clear up front, is the survey restricted to people who just drive vehicles, or anybody in any mode of transportation?
No, it's not restricted to those who drive vehicles. In fact, on the travel logs and diaries where people will be recording their information, there's specific areas that say, were you a passenger in the car? Did you take public transit? Did you ride a bike? So it's really open to anybody, not just people who drive. Okay.
So I'm just thinking that as a person who rides a bike and would like to ride more, and feeling sort of environmentally inclined, this is a way to get your voice heard that yes, people do ride bikes. Please, you know, make preparations for that. I mean,
absolutely. And I mean, we look at we also manage a study called the Congestion Management Study, where we look at the most congested corridors in the region, and some of the applications that we're looking at to address some of that congestion is more bike lanes. So definitely people like yourself, who are, like you said, more environmentally conscious or aware, or like to start riding their bikes more. Hopefully there'll be better opportunities to do that and travel throughout the city. We have a good bike lane network now, but certainly it could only improve, hopefully, and this kind of information will help us do that.
Okay. Well, by now, probably many of our viewers have probably already received a letter in the mail about the survey. What's the next step if they want to participate in this?
Well, first let me just say, if you do get a letter, please, we want you to open it. This is your invitation, as you said, to be part of the solution and certainly some of the investments that are made in the future. These letters have already started going out, as you mentioned, to some 2,400 households in the region, asking residents basically to participate in this survey about how they travel.
Okay. And do they enlist or enroll in this online? Is that the only way to do it, or is that the main way to do it?
Well, in order to be part of the survey, they're going to have to answer an online survey. But let me just say, before I get into any of that, that the travel survey is completely voluntary. Nobody is forced to do this. And as we talk more about it, I can get into the details on how people are actually, how households are being selected. But back to what you asked, the first thing they must do is go online or by telephone. There's an option for that too, and answer an online survey that will register them and say that they have definitely accepted their invitation to do this. And then once they've completed that step, they'll then be sent some travel logs or diaries in the mail to record their travel on one certain specific date that will be assigned to them. So basically, after you answer that online survey or you call in, they'll send you the stuff to get started, and then you're on your way. You'll get your travel date. Now, I might also mention about 20%, what is that, 480 households will be sent a GPS device like this one to wear on their person for their assigned travel date. And that's in addition to the travel logs that they'll be recording their travel in. So that's kind of an interesting piece too.
Yeah, why the GPS devices?
Well, you know, the GPS devices really are not to do anything more than simply validate what that person put down in their log, just validate their travel for that day. A lot of times you take the same route to work and back, or you know, you have the same pattern, but you may stop off at the dry cleaners or you know, somewhere else on your way home, the grocery store, and you might forget to log that on your actual travel log. The GPS will just validate that when you go to enter your information online. Then when you send it back, the people who take it and look at what's on the GPS will say, oh, well, you missed a spot. It's kind of like if you remember the Nielsen ratings for television. People would be sent books back in the old days, which wasn't that far long ago, but they would be sent books. And generally, if you didn't fill it out every day for that week that you were supposed to, you go, well, I watch Channel 7 News every night, or I watch Channel 4. And so you'd put down what you thought you'd probably watch. Nowadays, ratings are gathered electronically, and TV sets are drilled right into the back of, and if you fall asleep watching a program but you normally on Channel 4 but you normally watch Channel 7's news, it's going to record actual stuff. And I think that's what this is what the GPS does. It records reality versus the behavior.
What you thought,
So yeah. So and I also want to say that the GPS device, this little device, you can't do anything with it. You can't plug it into your own computer. I mean, it has a little USB device, but that's for when you send it back. You can't. There's nothing, no personal information it can get from you. Nobody else can track you. It just simply tracks your movements on that travel day or days, and then you send it back. Because I think people get kind of like, well, I have Big Brother watching me.
Yeah, we have enough of that already, apparently. With
right.
the NSA, we don't need you guys doing it.
That's exactly right. This is just travel, strictly travel.
And then once that's recorded, you can fill in the information online, right, or report it online, or however you want to do it.
Yeah, there's a few ways you can do it. We will ask participants to fill out the data online, mail in their response, or call a 1-800 number. So you'll have 3 different ways you can do that. And the sooner the better. I would say as soon as possible. This way the travel information is still fresh in your mind. That's one reason we also encourage participants to take their travel logs with them, because it's easier to write as you go than it is to wait till a day or two later to try and remember everything you did on that day. Hence, again, the 20% who'll be wearing the GPS.
Okay. So again, this is not a huge time commitment. This is not something that's going to go on for a month or whatever.
No, and not for the participant. The overall survey, because we really do want to get a good sampling of 2,400 households in Valencia, Sandoval, Bernalillo County, and some of our tribal communities as well, that it may take a while to get everybody involved in that. So this will continue probably through January with some breaks for the holidays and such. But the actual person doing the survey, if you were to get one and accept it in the mail, you'd have one travel day assigned to you. So it really doesn't take too much time.
All right. Well, let's just briefly then, just to recap this before we move on to some of the other issues, just tell us briefly how this is going to work step by step.
Sure. So those who fill out the recruitment survey online will receive a box like this in the mail containing a welcome letter to get them started, which confirms how many household members are participating. The letter will also give the assigned travel date. The box will include travel logs or diaries for each person, as well as a sample diary to give you an idea of how to fill it out. For those households randomly chosen to use the GPS devices, it will include one of these for each participant as well. So now you're ready to get started. So on your assigned travel day, you will attach your GPS device to your person. Women can also choose to carry theirs by attaching it to their purse if that's easier. And remember, you will also want to bring your travel log with you in an effort to try and record as you go. This way, you don't have to guess later on when it comes time when it comes to times of day and places. Now, once your travel date is completed, you are ready to enter your information. Now remember, you do this simply send your log back in the mail, along with your GPS if you have that too, or you can phone in the information. But say you're doing it online, which is also a nice option because it really helps when it comes to plugging in addresses of the various places you visited. If you have a GPS device, there are instructions on how to return the equipment along with the travel diary with the prepaid label provided. And after that, you simply sit and wait for your check to arrive in the mail.
There is an incentive, obviously, for people to participate in this. Tell us about that.
Absolutely. Every household that successfully completes a paper survey receives $10. $10 for that household. Now, every person who has chosen to wear a GPS device will receive an additional $20. Also, participants will be entered into a drawing to receive tickets, free tickets for the New Mexico Railrunner Express, and possibly some other incentive type things as we go.
Well, at least a little cash for gas.
Yeah, absolutely.
Not bad, not bad. Now, if you're not selected or you don't receive a letter, but you're interested in helping out with this travel survey, what are the options available?
Well, there's a website that's been created just for this household travel survey, and it's called keepnewmexicomoving.com. So people can certainly go on there. There's a lot of information on that website for those who are not taking the survey. For instance, there's a link to a questionnaire that also allows people to express their opinion about the state of transportation in the region and what they'd like to see. So really, it's not just if you're bummed because you didn't get selected, randomly selected, you still have an opportunity to weigh in. And again, this is about actual travel habits that people have. So it'd be useful for them to go to keepnewmexicomoving.com.
Okay. Again, what is the council hoping to get from this accumulation of information here?
Well, it's interesting. There's quite a bit of information that we can get. We manage something called the 2040 Metropolitan Transportation Plan, which is a 25-year look out at transportation in the region, and it is developed. We're the agency that is designated to receive all the federal funds flow through us for traffic for the region. So we're required to do this. But it's an interesting document because it's constantly being updated and added to, and transportation projects are prioritized and put into this. So I think what will happen is we'll get the information from this survey, probably have it in hand after everything's said and done by about April of 2014. And then we will plug it in to that MTP, to our long-range report, and then we'll be ready to update it because I think the next time it's updated is April of 2015. So I think the timing is perfect for us to collect this information and really take a hard look at, again, what kinds of travel investments we can make for the future that are really going to benefit people throughout the region.
Okay. And how long is this survey period going to go on? I don't know if I asked you that. But.
No, you didn't, but it's going to span probably a total of 5 months. So it begins now. We're hoping to have everything wrapped up by mid-January. So it'll probably happen in waves until we get, as I mentioned, that really good sampling of the 2,400 households.
Okay. Now, when was the last time you did a survey like this, did you say?
Oh gosh, we did it 20 years ago, and as I mentioned, it was by phone. So people don't have landlines that much anymore, and that's why we have to reach them in different ways. And I think this is going to be, we're really going to get a good cross-section of what exists out there in the region.
You think it's going to reflect, again, as we mentioned, I talked about biking earlier, is it going to reflect more traffic like that or more use of buses, do you think? Or
no, I really do. I think nationally the trending is showing that people, especially younger generations, are using transit more and their bicycles. And so I think, New Mexico, we haven't reached that spot where transit is a foregone conclusion. It's not New York or Chicago, but I think it'll be interesting to see if those national trends with people using transit and their bicycles and walking is going to play out here. It may not be as evident here, but I think we are going to see. I mean, we have a beautiful climate. People can easily choose to be outside walking to work or walking anywhere or bicycling, and I seem to see more of it myself, but you know, again, we also live in an area that we have, you know, people have love affairs with their pickups and their wide open spaces and the independence that being a one-person, one-owner vehicle offers. So that'll be some of the interesting information that we gather.
Okay. One more time quickly, the website to go to find out more information.
KeepNewMexicoMoving.com, and we want to encourage those who get selected randomly and those who don't to go there.
Okay, great. Well, Augusta, thanks for joining us today. I hope
you.
this has enlightened a bunch of people and they'll know what these things are showing up in their mailbox
Yes,
now.
and open your invitation if you get it.
And thank you for joining us. I'm your host, Tony DellaFlora. We'll see you next time.